Welcome to Bear Archery's Hunting 101 podcast, where hunters new and old come to learn and find inspiration from stories of hunts gone by. Everyone is welcome to enjoy the outdoor way of life, and there is no better time to start than right now. So let's head into the great outdoors with your host, Dylan Ray.
All right, guys, welcome to Bear Archery's Hunting 101 podcast. I am joined by a new friend of mine, Mr. Joe Elliston. Joe, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing excellent. How you doing today?
Man, I am absolutely fantastic.
Good.
Not as good as you because you're getting ready to go on a bear hunt, and bear hunting has quickly became one of my favorite things. And I am not headed on a bear hunt, so.
Well, I feel for you because it's something I've gotten into here recently over the last couple of years, and I got to tell you, man, it's quickly climbing to the top of some of my favorite hunts. Maybe just because you've been kind of cooped up for a while, but yeah, wish you were able to get out and maybe do a little bit more of it. But I understand, being in Kansas, not in your backyard necessarily.
Now, there is good bear hunting not far from me in Oklahoma. Obviously, there's no spring season, just a fall season, and there is good bear hunting in Oklahoma, and there are big bears in Oklahoma, but it's so expensive for a non-resident to hunt that it's not worth it. I mean, it's hard to say, well, I can go to Oklahoma and spend X amount of dollars, or I can go to Colorado or Idaho or Maine or New Mexico and hunt for a fraction of the price. I know it's a lot more travel, but it's a fraction of the price.
Right.
So it's just hard to work myself into going to Oklahoma to bear hunt as a non-resident.
Yeah, I could see that. My very first bear I ever saw in my life, it was a little town called Holdenville, Oklahoma.
Really?
Yeah, my dad grew up in southern Oklahoma, and there's a little town there. And I was young, but we were shooting pistols off of a bridge, and I'll be darned if we didn't see a bear. So that was the first bear
That's
I ever saw
awesome.
was down there in Oklahoma.
That's awesome. Now you are from Initial Ascent. What's your role there at Initial Ascent?
So I'm one of the co-founders and co-owners of Initial Ascent. There's two of us, myself and Dennis. And yeah, he and I have been kind of on this journey since 2015 is when we actually formed the company. And so we are the two owners of it.
That's awesome. I remember I stumbled upon your packs, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I don't know. I got drawn to them because, and I hope I don't use wrong terminology, but, small batch hand inspected packs. They're not built on a mass basis. And I just got drawn to them, and I haven't even tried one out yet, but I'm still anxious to.
Yeah.
But I got drawn to the company because of that reason, more, I don't know, finesse made packs, if that even makes sense.
No, it does. I mean, if I think about just kind of our journey, when Dennis and I started down this path in 2015, we really had no idea where it was going to go. It started with a conversation just around, you got two guys that both enjoy the outdoors a great deal. I would say Dennis is more of a gearhead than I am, but we both had a passion for trying to figure out how do you make things better. And as we just became friends and hunting together, we just were back and forth on, oh, I like this or I like that. We decide, hey, we're going to go try to do some stuff here in the backpack industry. And it's kind of a funny story how that all kind of came together. But as we started down that path, it was really a white sheet as to what we were going to go create. We didn't have a set agenda, and it took us 3.5 years just to design that frame. And that's really the foundation of our whole system is built off that platform. So yeah, it's different, no doubt about it. And it's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun. Learned a ton about just manufacturing and so forth. It's been pretty awesome. But to your point, we make everything pretty much up here in the Pacific Northwest, mostly all here in Idaho. And our frames come from Eastern Idaho, all the soft goods here in the kind of the Boise Valley. And to your point, yeah, every one of those packs that goes out the door is personally touched by Dennis or myself. It's kind of been our niche to be able to make sure that we're putting on your back exactly what you expect. And it's been a lot of fun doing it.
Sounds like it, man. And believe it or not, we're not here to talk packs. We are to an extent, but before we dive in, man, I do got to give a quick thank you to my friends. And since we're talking about bear hunting in the backcountry of Idaho, I've got to throw in my friends Koa Optics because, man, my first out western hunt was actually a bear hunt, and I had never even dreamed of having a spotting scope. I grew up in the thick northwest woods of Arkansas, and there's no need for a spotting scope, no need for binoculars because you can't see past 40 yards anyways. And I remember my buddies told me I was going to be spending a lot of time behind the glass, and so I started doing a whole lot of looking into good high quality binoculars and spotting scopes, and I landed on Koa Optics, and I just absolutely have fallen in love with Koa Optics. I truly believe they make the very finest spotting scopes on planet Earth, and the binoculars are fantastic. And I've used them exclusively now for the better part of probably 5 years. So if you are in the market for optics, I would highly encourage you to check out Koa Optics because they make some of the finest Japanese-made glass on planet Earth. And I would put them up against anyone and everyone. So go check out Koa Optics. So Joe, we're going to talk through bear hunting essentials, or what's in your pack for bear hunting, particularly spring bear hunting, because I would change a little bit there for fall and spring. So spring bear hunting is upon us. You're about to head out to go on a hunt, and in most states where there are a spring bear season, it is getting ready to open very quickly. So let's talk through, man. Let's talk through how you plan out your pack for a spring bear hunt.
So, I mean, it just, for me, we have different pack sizes. So it just kind of depends on how many days I'm going to go for. Typically, I'm going to go either with our IA2K if I'm going to go for 2 or 3 days. And that's a smaller setup, about 2,500 cubic inches. If I'm going to go for, say, 3 to 5 days, then I'm going to run the 4,000 just because I need a little bit more space. Right now it's kind of in a transition time down up here in Idaho. You really don't know for sure what kind of weather you're going to face into. I mean, today here in Idaho, I'll give you an example. It's not as bad as Kansas can be, but today here it's 70 degrees, but we had snow 2 days ago. Up in the mountains from here, we had a pretty good storm moving here. So you're kind of in that in between. Carry maybe a little bit more gear because the mornings, nights are going to be pretty chilly. So. But for me, like this hunt that's coming up, I'll probably run the 4,000 bag because I'm going to stay in there for a few more days, probably be in there about 3 or 4 days total. So, I'm going to have my basic stuff. I try to go as light as possible. So what I wear, I might bring one extra pair of socks for a 3 or 5 day hunt. I'll bring an extra pair of wares, if you will. And outside of that, I'm not going to bring any extra clothes. So to me, I've learned over the years with good quality gear, it's going to hold up, it's going to last. And if I have, one pair of socks on my feet and another pair in my bag, I can rinse them out in the stream and rotate them. Really try to cut the weight back with the clothing and go as minimal as possible. That seems to work well for me. I will not go in the backcountry this time of the year without a puffy. And it's just a staple in my pack. So you can guarantee I will have a puffy jacket that goes with me. And then typically this time of the year also, I may even throw in my puffy pants because, again, those mornings can be pretty chilly glassing. And I'm testing this year. This is going to be new for me. I'm going to try a new pad system this year with a quilt. And I have never done the quilt before, but I don't know, Dylan, if you've ever ran the quilts or not, but it's another way to cut some weight out of it. So I am going to try that this year. I'm running the Cedar Ridge. I'm excited to be able to run that. And if it gets a little chilly at night, then I'll have those, my puffy pants that I can throw on, my puffy jacket, and I'll be fine. So, that's it kind of from a clothing perspective. I'll run a single person tent. I've got a big Agnes ultralight that I run this time of the year. It's basically a taco. Although I am looking to go into the shelters here probably at some point this year. Want to look at some of the teepees that are out there. But for this hunt, definitely be running just the single person. Again, it helps me allow me to keep the weight down. And I transitioned away from a water pump to pretty much going just with a steri pin. Again, focused on trying to take as much weight. So probably a 3 liter. That's just my dirty bag, and then I can just filter, straight in the Nalgene with the steri pin. And again, that's a way just to cut some weight out of the equation. I have your basic stuffs, right? You're gonna have your headlamps, a couple extra sets of batteries, although I try to go as minimal as possible there and make sure everything's brand new before I go in. Definitely carry the inReach. The area that we're going into, it's about 8 miles in, and is actually pretty well known for rattlesnakes. I don't think I've ever been back there without coming across rattlesnakes. So I'll definitely have the inReach with me. So I mean, that's outside of food, which I try to keep my food at 2 pounds or less per day, which for me is pretty easy. I know for me, when I'm hunting in the backcountry, a lot of times it's just I have to force myself to eat. It's just one of those things you put on a lot of miles each day. You're kind of tired, and I find myself getting back to camp late at night, and the last thing I want to do is sometimes fix a meal. But it's important that you get those proper calories in you. Go in the backcountry without some type of pillow. I've got a little blow-up pillow, but my goal is to be somewhere with all of my gear right around 28 to 32 pounds, including food. Now, that does not include my rifle. So if I can get my weight right into that, and I typically can, that's a pretty good, comfortable carry for me to be running all day with.
Yeah, that's certainly a lot lighter. First hunt I went on, we get there, and my buddy was like, well, let's weigh our bags. And he put mine on, and he was like, oh, 52, good. And so I'm like, well, I do have a lot of camera gear, and I ended up leaving a whole bunch of stuff back at the truck. But now, when you mentioned clothing and not packing extras and only 2 pair of socks, and I am a huge advocate of merino wool. Always have been, always will be. And so if you're asking yourself, how does he do that? How can he go 5 days with 2 pairs of socks or 1 shirt, or then you need to look into merino wool. I am a huge fan of -33 merino wool. I feel like they do it really well. They do it at a very affordable price, and they make some pieces that I really just enjoy. And so go check out merino wool if you have questions. Merino can be one of those things that you don't know what weight to get. You don't know if you've not ever used it before. You don't know where to go to, so shoot me a message on Instagram. Shoot me a message on my email, the hunting101podcast@gmail.com. Shoot me an email, and I'd love to help you figure out, what kind of weights you need, where you're hunting at. There's a couple pieces that I've just really fallen in love with. Like -33 has I know several other companies do, but they have a 3/4 pant zip, and they zip all the way down. So I can put them on early in the morning. And then I don't have to take my boots off to take those off. I can just unzip them and take them off. And so just things like that. I'd love to be able to help you find some merino that will work for you. So just shoot me an email or a message on Instagram, and we'll help you get squared away there on merino, because it'll change the way you hunt in the backcountry for sure. It'll change the way you pack your pack 100%. So that I'm glad that was the first thing you mentioned, because I preach that to guys. If you're going on a backcountry hunt, get some good merino.
It's invaluable. I couldn't agree more with you.
I made a post on Facebook, or on Instagram, I'm sorry, just a couple days ago, and I said the 2 things that guys neglect are their feet and their base layers. That if you have a good pair of boots and you have a good pair of base layers, you're set. You're set, and everything else on the outside of that, you can stay comfortable. So I just feel like people always neglect their base layers and their boots. So yeah, if you have any questions about merino, shoot me a call, or shoot me an email, shoot me a message on Instagram. Now, going into, and I also like what you said about the quilt. I'm a quilt guy just because I sleep real hot, and so I don't like getting super bunched up in a sleeping bag. You get a mummy and you can't move your legs; they're like just right up against each other. I like to sprawl out, and I like to, if I get hot with a quilt, I can just flip the flat, flip it over my back and not be in the just super wrapped up in a burrito of a sleeping bag. So I'm a big fan of a quilt too. I do like quilts.
Yeah, I'm anxious to try it this year. I've never ran one before, and I've found with a lot of people that just have talked about them for the last several years. And the older I get, the more it's just like, okay, I'm going to cut every ounce that I can. And I've just heard nothing but great things. So yeah, I'm excited to try it out.
Yeah, it's just man, again, it's lighter, and for me, I sleep more comfortable with one. So why
Right,
wouldn't I?
right.
Now walk me through your backcountry GPS, like I know you mentioned the inReach. Walk me through do you have a wearable? Do you use Onyx? Do you have printable maps? Walk me through your kind of navigation system that you use in the backcountry.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, here over the last 2 years, I've been using base maps, and they've done some recent upgrades to their platform, and I've been, for the most part, pretty happy with it. I've had a few issues at times with some of the downloads not going through, but I think they've corrected all of that. So I do run base map, but I will tell you, maybe it's just old school in me. I just always make sure, though, that I take a picture on my cell phone of a map book, and then I've got that as a backup. And that's always proven to be good, because sometimes you just get into a place and things don't work electronically like you thought they would. So I want to have a plan B, especially in an area that I'm just not familiar with. I always, before I go into an area, though, for the most part, I want to take some time and familiarize myself with the terrain just through, looking at Google Earth, for example, and diving into that just so I can make sure, okay, I understand, from this point, here's where my objective is to get from here to here to here over this amount of time. It does make a big difference. Now, there's nothing that can replace boots on the ground, and we've heard that 1,000 times, but there is definitely value taking a bird's eye approach to kind of getting a perspective as to, okay, here's the ground that I'm going to try to cover. If I get in a predicament, I can visualize in conjunction with, if I have a map, picture of the map on my phone, to help me get out of just about any situation. So those are the kind of the tools. It wasn't too long ago I was still using a GPS, but just as I've gained confidence in base maps here over the last 2 years, I've opted to leave that at home and just leverage the base maps platform.
Yeah, I got you. My fallback, and like you said, you have that safe haven of a picture on your phone. I do the same. I just screenshot some things on Onyx, that way, like real distinct landmarks. That way it's not like looking for a clearing in the trees or a cut in the trees or a specific one little ridge. But, if you can find like a helipad and take a screenshot of that way you know where it's at. Or if you can find, a big river that runs somewhere and it intersects with another, and that way without a doubt, this is where I'm standing. I'm looking right at it. So yeah, I take a couple like screenshot type safety measures, I guess is what we're going to call them. But I'm also a huge fan of saving my points. Garmin, everybody knows I'm a huge fan of Garmin. But if you go into like the Garmin Explore app, then you can save like glass point 1, glass point 2, campsite 1, campsite 2, whatever truck, parking lot. I mean, you can save those points on the Garmin Explore app, and then you can sync them to your Phoenix 6 or your Instinct, And then you can navigate to those points just by your watch. So I do quite a bit of those things before I ever get there. And so if I have a friend, hunting an area and I'm going to be meeting them there, then they'll create those points in Garmin Explorer, share them with me. I can upload them to my watch, and then I know, okay, my truck's parked where I need to park it at. And I can go to navigate me to glass point 1 on my Instinct, and it'll have a map showing me where to go to get to glass point 1. And so I do a lot of those things. Also, I make sure and always save my locations as I go. Just hold down the button for save my location on my watch, and I can mark truck, or I can mark camping spot, and I can mark last blood. I mean, all those things. That way, if at any time I get turned around, I can go back and say, well, I know this is where I was camping last night. I know this is where my truck is parked. Because if I can get back to my truck, that's okay. Nothing else matters. So in the event of like you're completely turned around, if I can get back to my truck, I'll be all right. So I just always save those points as I go. Now, you said you're rifle hunting. Do you ever bow hunt in the backcountry, or are you just a rifle hunter?
So I do bow hunt. I'm a new bow hunter, I would say, though. I did it when I was a kid back in Kansas, and I didn't pick my bow back up till probably about 5 years ago. And even when I picked that bow up, it was the bow I was shooting, 30 years ago or more. So I would say I'm fairly new bow hunter. I love it. I mean, I absolutely enjoy it. I've ended up building kind of an archery setup out in my pasture, so I'm able to just kind of go out there and I can pling arrows all the way out to 100 yards out there, which is a lot of fun. But I would say here over the last 2 or 3 years, it's become more and more of a passion for me, trying to transition into just more of the bow hunting, that up close personal interaction that you get with the animals. It's irreplaceable, right? And
Oh,
it's just
absolutely.
so, and it just it expands your season, your time out in the backcountry. That's the true blessing for me, is just being out there in a lot of ways. So, but yeah,
That's awesome.
I changed my whole setup this year, so I'm kind of starting back from scratch. My draw length, I shortened about 1.5 inches, which is a lot. Kind of mixing everything up, so I'm all over the board right now, as you can imagine. But that's part of the fun, right? Just the fine tuning, the tweaking, learning. Yeah, so it's a full on process, that's for sure. But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. You don't have to tell me nothing. I'm switching to a recurve currently.
No, boy,
And so
big switch.
it is you go from expecting it to hit a ping pong ball, and now I'm happy to hit a salad plate.
Yeah.
And so it's a different ball game, man. And I really have to remind myself of that. Like, this is like you said, going from a rifle to a bow, you shrink your yardage from 200 to 300 yards down to 40 to 50 yards or 60 yards, and then going to a recurve, you shrink that down to 20 to 30 yards and in. And so I really just have to remind myself, I'm taking a step forward as far as I have to get closer to the animal now, which it just adds a whole new aspect to the hunt. But no, so I completely understand what you're saying, my friend. What's one of the biggest what's one of the biggest lessons you learned when you dove into backcountry and backcountry hunting? What's one of the biggest lessons you learned as far as gear goes?
Oh man. So I think you hit on one of the things earlier when I first started out, and I think a lot of people do this as well. You're hesitant to make investment in the proper gear, and I certainly did that with my share of boots. Can't tell you how many sets of boots I went through in the beginning years just because I was afraid to pull the ticket, for those higher dollar, items. But the amount of pain and blisters and really dollars wasted, it really did add up.
Man, I believe you nailed it square on the head with the boots. I would just run to big box stores and find whatever boots were on sale, and then lace them up and go hunting. And I really didn't even understand how bad of a problem hot spots and blisters were until I put on a good pair of boots. I am a huge believer in Schnees out of Bozeman, Montana. they have had my heart for a long time. And mainly because it was the moment I laced them up and put them on, I was like, I've never experienced boots before, you know? This is my first pair of what have I ever had before. They didn't feel anything like this. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge believer in Schnees, and I'm a huge believer that if you take care of your feet, they'll take care of you. So I would encourage you, check out Schnees and all of their products at schnees.com. That's SCHNEES.com. But there are a lot of other good boot companies out there. But boots are something that do not try to cut corners on. I would just encourage you, bite the bullet on boots before you bite the bullet on anything else, because it'll change the way you look at the next ridge. It'll change the way you think about staying the next day. It'll change the way, it'll just change the way you hunt, having a good quality pair of boots. And again, if you've got any questions on boots, on what I run and why I run it and the stiffness I like and the insulation I like, shoot me an email, shoot me a message on Instagram. I would love to help you figure out what boots will work good for you. Now, what's your field note for us? And being the nature of a pack company, share with us a field note that you've learned over the years about your pack.
So when you say field note, are you just talking about best practices with pack?
Yeah, just something that you've learned over the years, and you've, made mental note of, that made you a better sportsman. So I can take it and put in my back pocket and become a better sportsman. I don't want to steal your note, but my first field note from the backcountry was put all your heavy stuff against your back.
Yeah.
Don't put your base layers against your back and then put your your cooking system out on the outside, because it's going to weigh you back more. So put all your heavy stuff up against your back, as close to your back as you can get it. That's
Yeah.
the first field note I ever took from the backcountry.
No, and I think that's a very valid statement, right? And it's one of the things that we preach to folks when, we're teaching folks on how to pack a system, how to actually, build their pack up with all their gear and so forth. So, one of the things that we really, really stress with people, and I don't care which backpack it is, I would highly encourage them before they put one foot out there in the backcountry that they make sure that thing fits them properly. Boots can cause you a lot of issues, but a pack that doesn't fit you right, it's almost on the same level of discomfort, if not more, if you got a heavy load. So I would really encourage folks to go in, take the time, get 20, 30, 40 pounds, put it in the pack, get it so that it rides up where it's a little bit higher. I see a lot of guys that are packing and they've got all the weight on their shoulders. They've got that the meat that they're hauling out. It's down below their butt, and they're just look miserable. And if you're able to kind of figure out, okay, I need the weight to ride a little bit higher up on my back. I want to be able to get this where the weight is driven into my hips, not so much my shoulders. It's a game changer. It truly is. Now, I feel like ours is really designed to do that. So I would encourage people. We've got a nice video on our website that shows you how to fit a pack properly. Highly recommend checking that out. But get some weight in your pack, whatever pack you have. Use that to make the adjustments of shoulder straps, hip belts, torso lengths, all of those things, and you'll have a much better experience. I see so many people just grab their pack and go, and heaven forbid they get an animal down. Boy, they may need help getting themselves out sometimes.
Yeah. No, great tip, man. Great tip. It's just one of those things. It's another piece of the puzzle that on my first hunt, I had no idea. I was used, the only backpack I ever carried was to a tree stand. And that was 200 yards from your pickup to your tree stand. And all that was in it was some snacks and an extra beanie. And, I had no idea. And I remember getting there and like the first 20 minutes, I was miserable. And finally my buddy said, wait, let me look at this, and he sucked my straps up and pulled the pack way up on me. And I'm like, whoa, big difference. Just a world of difference that 30 seconds made. And I had a very cheap pack. That was one thing that I definitely skimped out on. I actually still kind of run a cheap pack. I'm sorry. Don't get on to me. But, again, like you said, very good advice on making investments over the years. And that's something that's on my to-do list to upgrade. Just haven't done it yet. I really looked at my first really breakdown was first off boots, because I was like, this sucks,
Yeah.
And so first big breakdown was boots. Next, I really looked into my sleeping system and thought, how can I upgrade this? Man, my first backcountry hunt was a 7-day hunt in the middle of the mountains, and I had one of the $19.99 single sleeper tents from Walmart.
Slept good.
Yeah, no, I slept horrible. I
Yeah.
relied heavily on Tylenol PM to get me through that trip. But hey, listen, I promise you this, it worked. Like it got me through the hunt,
Yeah.
So whether you can afford, a $600 tent, a $3,000 tent, or a $20 tent from Walmart, it worked. I'm not saying I was the most comfortable guy on the trip, but it did. It got me into the mountains for 7 days, and got me out, and I was dry all week. So, really, you don't have to, like Joe already said so perfectly, you don't have to make this huge $10,000 investment right off the bat. Find some things and think, okay, this is what I'm going to upgrade this year. And, for me, packs is one of the upcoming things that I need to really work on upgrading. Yeah, man, great advice. Great, solid advice there. Man, share with us before you go, share with us a fun bear hunting story you got for us. And I'll share mine after it. And I promise you mine's more embarrassing.
Well, I mean, every bear hunt that I've gone on, to me, I'm just like a kid in a candy store. There are those animals that just get you, sometimes just get a screw loose, right, when you see it. And I've always just gotten ecstatic when I see a bear, to the point where it's hard sometimes to control emotions. Now, I've become more mature in my hunting, the more years I've done it and the more years I've had interactions with bears. And, most seasons now I see, 20, 25 bears. So I haven't lost that excitement, but I've been able to control my excitement a little bit more. Um, but I do remember one of our first bear hunts, and I was with Dennis, my business partner, as well as my oldest son. And we spotted 3 bears in this area that I'm going to be going to early on. And I had a shot at a blonde, and it's an area where it seemed like there's more color phase bears, which is always nice. But I didn't take the shot, and I probably should have, because at the time I was really, kind of like archery hunting, with rifle hunting, it's one of those things you got to practice a bunch as well. And my neighbors probably think I'm crazy, but I'll sit in my office and I just dry fire all the time, and it builds a ton of confidence in my ability to shoot without having to go out and shoot a lot at the range. Um, so I was confident on this shot, and it was about a 600-yard shot. But I opted not to take it. It was early on in the hunt. So rewind or fast forward to the last day, I see that same bear probably a mile and a half away. And I can remember, we ran in a lot of ways over to it. It was about a mile and a half, 2 miles away, first thing in the morning. And I get set up to shoot, and everything of logic went out the window, right? I mean, it was everything that you're not supposed to do, I did. I was trying to do a standing shot, and then I was like, oh, no, that's not going to work. I'm going to put this on this tall boulder. So I put my rifle up with the tripod up on this boulder, and I'm standing on my tippy toes. And I literally grab Dennis's pack, and I stand on it. And in the moment, I was like, I'm just grabbing his pack. I'm standing on it. Well, come to find out, he had his Swaros in there and all of his
Oh,
optics
no.
and everything else. So here I am, about as unsteady as you could possibly be, standing on Dennis's, $3,000 or $4,000 worth of optics that he's got in there. And I couldn't figure out for the life of me as to why he wasn't too excited about what I was doing. But needless to say, the shot didn't come together the way it was supposed to. Fortunately, I didn't break his optics. Yeah, Dennis was all not too excited about Joe's choice of grabbing his pack to stand on.
Now, I told you I had a more embarrassing one, and I
Yeah.
do. You know where Atlanta, Idaho is?
Oh, very familiar with it.
Well, first off, shout out to my boys in Atlanta. I fell in love with those guys. Just all around cool guys. I mean, just fun guys. So if you're ever listening to this and you're from Atlanta, any 9 of you that are listening to this, no, I'm just kidding. But so we were on that hunt, and I told you I was there in the Idaho National Forest, and we were on this hunt, and Rob from SNS, I don't know, maybe 2 days before the hunt was over, said, well, hey, you guys are only about 30 miles from Atlanta. And so you could drive up there. There's some hot springs, get a bath, get a burger at the little joint there. And so we're like, dude, that sounds fantastic. 5 days without a bath, nothing but mountain house meals. We're like, that sounds awesome. And so we pack out, we drive up there, bathe, burger, drive back and start hunting again. Well, so we hunted for 2 more days. And on the last night, we're like, all right, our batteries we did not find bears like we thought we would. It was not a good trip. I think we saw 1 bear all week long. She had a cub. So we were just done, mentally, physically done. And so we're like, well, let's head up to Atlanta, grab a burger and a bath, and then we'll come back down and sleep at base camp or at our trucks, in big wall tents for the last night to have a good, comfortable night's sleep. And we'll just have an easy day tomorrow. And so we drove to Atlanta, took a bath, got a burger, we're on our way back, and I'm wearing like blue jeans and, like Under Armour slides because we're just headed to dinner and bath. We didn't even think we were hunting. And on our way back, we think, well, hey, there's a helipad right up here. Let's just drive up there. That'd be a good glassing spot. It's almost dark, but we can just drive up there and see if we see any bears. Not expecting to see much, since for the first 6-7 days, we'd only seen 1 bear. And sure enough, the moment we get out of the truck, I pull my binos up, boom, there's a bear there. And I'm like, well, crap. So we range it, and we put this plan together to put a stalk on it. And I look down, and I'm wearing Under Armour slides.
Oh,
and
boy.
I'm like, boys, look at my feet. Like, what are we going to do here? And, it was almost one of those deals where we're like, well, if we're going to chase this bear, it has to be now. Like, we can't drive back to the tent to get your stuff and then come back. It's almost last night of the hunt. This has to happen right now. So you sit here and glass for us and give us hand signals and we'll go. And I'm like, no, I'm going too. So I put in maybe, 600-700 yards with the slides. And then I'm like, well, wait a second, I can go a lot faster if I just pull these slides off. Now, Joe, I grew up in Arkansas, so I got a little bit of redneck hillbilly in me, so I can run on the side of a mountain barefooted. So I took those slides off, and I'm running across the side of this mountain in Idaho, completely barefooted with a gun in one hand and a camera in the other. And I keep having to stop. I'm like, okay, hold on. I got a stick in my foot, and I pull it out, and it was bleeding, and I'm okay. I got a rock in it. Hold on just a second. And I, pull the rock out and we keep running. So we get within 200 yards of this bear. I had a bow, and 200 yards was as close as we could get to this bear the way it was set up. No other choices. So Rob from SNS had a rifle. And so I just grabbed his rifle. I laid down on my pack and go to shoot. And I missed the bear completely. So I had put in like a mile and a half to chase this bear completely barefooted, and I completely just blow the shot.
Oh, man.
And what sucks is we were filming for a TV show, so it's on film of me making a stupid decision to cross hill barefooted. But then after you see me miss, I just turn and look at the camera with the most defeated look you've ever seen on a poor boy's face, and I'm just completely defeated. And the bear trots off, never to be seen again, and we go home from Idaho empty-handed.
Oh, man. And folks that aren't familiar with Idaho mountains, what you were running on was so much rock up in that area.
Yeah, it was crazy,
That
man.
is crazy.
It was not fun. Stupid decision. I've still got pictures on my phone of my feet just covered in splinters and cuts and bruises, and I was literally picking out splinters for 3.5 weeks after that, and so just not good at all.
No, it doesn't sound like it at all. Not at all. But hey, that's hunting, right? I mean, it never goes exactly as planned, but when it does, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Well, Joe, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate your time.
Hey, it was a blast talking with you. I sure enjoyed it. And best of luck to you this season, all right?
Absolutely. You too, my friend, and we will stay in touch. And maybe next year, 2022, we can plan a spring bear hunt to Idaho to come and chase bears around the backcountry with you.
It'd be a lot of fun. Let's put it together.